take a look at IGN's recent review on TCM. It can't be that bad, right? Let's watch it. Let's watch it.
Perhaps as an ode to the horror movie genre itself, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre starts out with all the same joy and promise of a group of friends preparing for a weekend at a cabin in the woods. While I definitely enjoyed plenty of my 20 hours with this novel take on the asymmetrical multiplayer genre, getting started wasn't as smooth as it is in similar games, and there's less to do than expected once you're up and running. Between that and some seriously frustrating technical issues, there was definitely a chloroform doused wet blanket over the whole thing.
I really hate that intro. After, like, I wanted to look back at this, right? Because we've played for over 210 hours. Am I a little biased? I mean, kinda, because I really like the game. Him going, oh, well, it's not easy to get into, right? It's a chloroform doused blanket over the entire thing. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird.
If you've played any asymmetrical horror game, be that Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th, Evil Dead, or Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, among others, then you've already got a pretty good idea how developer Gun Interactive's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre works. It's similar to the point where it feels extremely familiar at first, right down to borrowed ideas.
Like, I don't know, it's just like he compares it to Ghostbusters and Dead by Daylight. I think the only comparison that they draw from each other is just one is the victim side and one is the killer side, right? And then him going, oh, it's just borrowed ideas, generators. It just kind of seems like he never watched the original TCM movie. Like, here, when I first played the game too, it was definitely not familiar. It was not familiar. The first 3 hours that I played this game, I was so unbelievably confused. So him going, it's really familiar mechanics, like, and these ideas are obviously borrowed from, like, these other games. That does not make any sense. It just does not.
Like QuickTime events and mini-games to do things like turn on generators and pick locks, and hiding from baddies.
Pick locks, he says. Picking locks, that's not a quick time event. That's a slow time event, bro. You see how long it takes to pick those locks sometimes, especially Cook's padlocks. And if you have the grandpa perk to make it tougher, his own perk to make it stronger, that's not a quick time event. That's a slow time event, man.
Since now both sides require communication and teamwork to achieve victory.
True to a certain degree, yes.
I always feel
you can still win. You can clutch up on either side solo if you are good enough. It's easier to clutch up if you're on victim side without comms. I find it funny though. Like, listen, not to rag on this guy too much. Not to rag on him. I don't agree with his takes. I'm sure he's a lovely dude, but he spent a while getting this footage. No, I say a little bit, but like he said he only played 20 hours to get the footage. His perks aren't very good. Like, look at these perks. These perks are not very good, especially for Johnny. And look at and one whiff, two whiff. Like, come on, man. If you're getting footage for the game that you're supposed to be critiquing, it should be at least good footage. 20 hours isn't enough to learn about the game. I think it's enough to learn the basics, how the exits are and the basement layout, you know what I mean? But for everything, like advanced layout for bone scrap pile spawns, blood pool spawns, that takes a lot more time because you have to play other characters as well. You can't just stick to one character to learn everything because each character has their own role. Cook, for example, padlock everything and feed grandpa. Hitch, you have to obviously set your traps. Bubba gets rid of all the barricades. And on victim side, you have to learn all these collectible spots so you can actually like open a door and get out.
Each member of the murder-loving family has modest but useful abilities.
Modest, he says. See, I think he also chose to play some of the not great characters for this review. Johnny is by far the worst character in the game right now. And yes, you can make him decently strong if you bring stamina perks, right? With easily tuckered out and scout to swing across the map, right? Not lose stamina. That's one thing, right? Johnny, he doesn't even have those perks, right? And he probably doesn't have his ability leveled either. Not that his ability is good anyway. Yeah, Johnny is a modest ability, but if you look at Cook or Hitchhiker or even Bubba, they are nasty.
Like Johnny's power to track footprints in a handy detective vision mode.
Handy detective vision mode, omega lol.
Victims in turn have some pretty substantial and interesting ways to fight back or speed along their escape. Like how Leland can use his jock body and tiny brain to shoulder charge his pursuers, stunning them for a good while. The victims can also do cool things like sneak attack the psychopaths with a makeshift bone knife, or burst out of a hiding place to stun them for a time.
I have maybe seen one person in my entire 200 hours stun a family member through a hiding spot. And you want to know why? It's because I got stunned. It is very rare for that to be pulled off. A lot of what he is saying, it just seems like, man, he really trying to get that word count. To attack all the psychopaths. Leland with his jock body and tiny brain, like it's kind of silly, bro. Like he tacks on a bunch of stuff. It doesn't add anything to the review. It kind of just dilutes it.
A lot of wind is taken out of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre by some pretty egregious technical issues that everyone I played with experienced every single match.
He says this, I don't believe that for a second, because if we look back, this wasn't during the technical test in May, right? The technical test only had the 3 killers. And you couldn't change your perks or anything. This was the reviewer period about 2 weeks, I think, before the actual live release of the game. This guy must have been playing on ultra settings with a dog graphics card to make it so he doesn't get any good frames. I've played on ultra on this game, and I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't look much different from medium or low. It's like DBD, which is fine. Like, I don't mind the graphics looking the same because it still looks really good on medium, and it performs much better. It's like putting on 4K in a game and then going, what the bro, I'm lagging?
The biggest one is that anytime a victim and a member of the family get into close proximity, and especially when they engage in combat with one another, the frame rate takes a nosedive for everybody in the match.
For everybody in the match, he says.
Even if you do kill someone, you don't get to enjoy your victory to the fullest.
Dude, like, look how dark the room is. Look how dark it is. What graphics was it? I really want to know what graphics he's playing on. Look how dark the room is.
Animation is
That's
choppy.
gotta be on Ultra, man. That's gotta be on Ultra. That has to be.
Beyond that, there's also
like, look at it.
That'll ruin
look
your
at
match.
it.
So the family definitely has the more engaging set of objectives, since they're not only hunting the survivors, but setting traps and adding additional obstacles to the mix, like turning on generators that activate electrical barriers that then have to be turned off by the victims.
I don't think it's necessarily more engaging. I just think it's very subjective sided. Some people think family's unbelievably boring. Some people think victims are really boring. I think it's completely subjective at that point.
Naturally, setting the perfect trap for your prey and then slowly closing in for the kill is a thrill, especially when my traps forced someone to jump out of a window in desperation, killing themselves on my behalf. Moments like that allowed me to embrace my inner sadist and put a smile on my face.
Bro's really in that word count, bro. He got the footage of someone jumping outside garden window, and he's like, damn, I'm popping off.
Victims, on the other hand, mostly rely on stealth to complete their pretty boring objectives.
Now that is a dog take. Now that is truly a dog take. Relies on stealth. That tells me, again, like, this Connie has one good perk. And even then, it's not that good. This perk, the first lockpick that you have and that you use, at tier 3, it gives you 50% chance of not breaking. All the clips I've seen, they haven't had any good perks on. They haven't really been using their abilities, and they're saying, oh, this shit's boring. You do not need to be stealthy to play this game at all. It is completely dependent on the person, and I think playing stealthy is extremely boring. It's just like in DVD. I don't want to hide the entire time. I want to do the funny. I want to run around. I want to chase the killer, and then I'll do the objectives fast. It's more satisfying to win that way too than sneak around the map, slowly open this gate, go to the objective, open another gate, turn off the battery, not see a killer for the entire match, and then escape. That shit is boring.
All of which are permutations of the same thing.
Open
a door somewhere so you can leave.
Dude, like, hold on, look at this, these perks too. Well, like, again, I'm not trying to be mean or nothing, but like, he's not putting anything on. Like, he's got the like starter 3 perks on Sunny. He's not even trying to go through his skill tree and like get any good perks. I don't get it. As we've seen these other clips, they've had different perks, but he doesn't choose any good ones.
But there are a few slightly more complicated options, like using one exit that opens on a timer when you fix a pressure valve, and another that opens up a tunnel exit when you solve a simple circuitry puzzle at a fuse box. Thankfully, despite the uncreative errands you have to complete
uncreative errands.
It's still undoubtedly...
Bro, was that in a custom game? No fucking way he couldn't. No way. Look, he did it in a custom. He did it in a custom game. He didn't even do it in a pub. He could only get it in a custom game. He could only get the footage in a custom. You're kidding. That's crazy, bro. Uncreative errands, by the way. Uncreative.
Making it out of the final exit by the skin of your teeth with all 3 murder.
Look at this. He's got 2 fuses. 2. Yeah, I played about 20 hours. I played about 20 hours of this game, and damn, these survivor objectives are so boring. Why the f did he think the 2 fuses would work? I can't, man. Skin and bones.
With such a good baseline,
That's what this segment is called.
It's pretty disappointing that there are only 3 maps. and a
Only
single
3
game
maps,
mode
he
to
says.
choose from.
It feels like his next complaint is gonna be, damn, where's the battle pass at? Maybe that could help fund them getting 20 maps on release, because it's kind of empty, this game. What the fuck, bro?
The gas station, the family house, and the slaughterhouse are all varied and well-designed maps in terms of layout, but they bizarrely all have the same set of 4 exits in the same general places for victims to escape through and family to guard.
Now, this is a complaint that I've seen, okay? I understand the critique. And I would say that that's fair a year into the game's release. I think that would be fair a year in, right? But the reason why there aren't new exits on every map, they don't want to information overload all of the players. They want people to get into the game, understand the basics, understand the more advanced mechanics later on, but not bombard them with right? They will most likely put new exits in the new maps.
Once you've played a level once or twice, all the novelty of emerging from the basement to an unfamiliar area that you then need to escape is lost. And it's super weird that there isn't any special way for me to escape each one.
After you leave the basement once or twice, the novelty is lost. That's the f***ing point. If you buy a house, if you buy a car, the novelty of you buying anything new and you use it, the novelty of it being new will go out the window the more you use it. I left the basement once or twice. It doesn't feel new anymore. Bad game. Like, what do you mean, man?
You're telling me that both of these places all have exactly 1 pressure released exit and 1 tunnel exit with a broken fuse box?
Suspend your disbelief. You do not need to analyze every small thing about a video game, movie, or media culture by saying, damn, isn't that just convenient? It's a video game. Every multiplayer game alive is going to have some repetitive aspects. Damn, you're telling me on this Overwatch map, there are like 20 different maps that I have to push this payload? You're telling me on this map I have to kill these people? That's repetitive and that's lazy. It's the point of the game. It's the game's personality. It gives you an objective, you complete the objective, and then you do it again. That's the point of the game.
That just feels like it was copied and pasted. Also pretty odd that there's no real tutorial or single player with bots mode to be found, leaving little recourse for those learning the ropes or trying to sharpen their skills.
That's the only point that actually makes any sense. There should probably be an AI tutorial mode.
Since most people probably won't have the stomach for that and will jump right into playing matches, you're likely to encounter lots of players who don't know what they're doing, which can be an extremely frustrating experience when they're on your team.
That is not a good critique of the game. That's a critique of the game's player base. Look at any multiplayer video game on the face of the earth. Nobody wants to do a boring ass tutorial or learn the game. They want to hop in and learn that way. Bro also does not know how to walk. You're right.
To encounter lots of players who don't know what they're doing.
No, not the players who don't know what they're doing. Yo, hold the shift button. Hold the shift button.
They're not even that satisfying to kill.
And they're not even satisfying to kill. Bad take.
I have little doubt that in a year or two, when they've added more scenarios and maps, still, the potential behind this format and the reverence for the beloved horror classic it's based on
is clear. Reviewed on PC, so he had to have a bad setup or put everything on Ultra. The 12 blood. Wait, did he? Wait, you're telling me he fed Grandpa 12 blood? No way.
Monotonous.
That is some crazy blood value, dude. Holy. That 12 blood is going crazy. Okay, and you want to know, and I say this with a big disclaimer. I love Dead by Daylight. I love it to death. They gave DBD a 9, bro. And they want to say that it's uncreative errands on TCM. Everything feels borrowed from other games. You want to know what they gave Alien Isolation? This is one of the most contested IGN reviews. They gave Alien Isolation a 5.9. 7.5k likes, 54k dislikes. 5.2k likes, 6.3 dislikes on TCM Game Review. This was GameSpot. And this was a pretty decent review compared to like all the other ones as well. They don't complain about any of the dumb that IGN had to say about it. They give it a 9. Driven by chaos and dread, just like a source material, deep and rewarding metagame, invites experimentation. That's a good point, because that's definitely true. Maps are oppressive and purposely dizzying. Yeah. Music that sounds faithful but still newly haunting. The soundtrack is really good. And then they say the bad. Cosmetic unlockables are lacking, and 4v3 setup limits some groups in matchmaking. If those are their only complaints, that's really good. Their only complaints being there aren't enough cosmetics on launch. You can't play with as many friends. That's really good that those are the only complaints that they have.